Hi. Okay. I just finished shampooing my landlord's carpet. I live in this big, beautiful house on the lake, and it's a huge place, and it's an older home. And he's very organized and very neat. But it's funny the difference between what things look like on the surface and what they are, deep down, because he can't see very well without his glasses, and he has a really bad sense of smell, and I have a super nose. So he has two cats. I have two cats. His cats, he watches mine when I go away, and I watch his when he goes away. And the first time I did, I said, first thing we're going to do is dump these cat litter boxes because you're using cheap cat litter, and it needs to be clumping cat litter, and it needs to be clean. I said, this cat litter is not clean. And I said, I'm not going to touch it. So I dumped it all out, got new stuff, and he's like, oh, I didn't realize, and because he doesn't have a sense of smell. And he's like, I said, this house, it's a big, it's an older home, but it's in good shape, and he keeps things very organized, but it was bad. And so as I'm shampooing the carpets yesterday, I was in his office, and his cat came in to use the little cat box, and he looks at me, and he gives me this worried face, and he's like, and I said, what? And he goes, oh, she's just going to use that cat box. Well, he had one of those cat boxes that he hadn't dumped out that I didn't see. And the cat went in to use the cat box, and when it started to try and cover it up, the smell was so strong, my eyes were watering. I said, okay, get that outside. Seriously? And the cat starts like scratching on the wall, like, because he was trying to cover up the smell, because cats are very clean. People are like, oh, it's filthy cats. Cats are not dirty. It's the people that have the problem. And it makes me think about our animals are like our kids. They're like us. And they get used to us and our conditions. And I got to tell you that Liger and Lily, they would not go in a cat box that had anything in it. I have to clean my cat box a couple times a day, and I have two of them. They're incredibly clean because they're used to me. Like with my home and my family, I grew up in a very, very clean home. My mother was immaculate. My father's immaculate. I was that way. My brother was a disaster. His room was always, my mom would just like shut the door. It was always, the fights with my family was always about my brother and his filthy room. And how two people can live in one house, grow up together, and be totally different is there's an example. My sister-in-law, who married him, used to pay me to clean her house, or I asked me to come stay there. She'd pay my daughter to go clean her house. My dad has my daughter now go to his house and clean because she cleans like I do. And, you could eat off the floor in our house. So I'm looking at Lily and Liger, and I'm telling him, and I'm saying, your cats are so, it's not that they're so well behaved, they're so used to the conditions that they were living in that they'll continue to use a cat box when I can't even stand to be in there. And cats are very, very clean. Whereas I said my cats wouldn't go near it. There's no way, because they're used to what conditions that I have. So I'm thinking about, in your life and the type of person. For me, I got to be with a clean person. And they can't just be clean. They've got to be clean, because I would go crazy. I got a call yesterday from my old landlord, and he wanted to know if I could come over and help him clean up the yard. And I'm like, sorry, I'm busy. And I was paid when I was there before. The reason he didn't want me to move up to the suite upstairs that I wanted was because I was like the house mother, and I was cleaning. And I'm looking back in my dreams, and I see this the lady that's doing this carpet cleaning, and it's me. It's like I go back through my entire life, and I'm always cleaning. And I'm cleaning other people's houses and cleaning other people's stuff. And, the foundation of your house is your carpet, is where you stand on. And I just started thinking about, the saying, cleanliness is next to godliness. There's a reason for it, if your house is you've got two dogs. Yay! My house isn't clean, I can't think. I got stuff in my head, I can't think. I came out on the patio just to cool down a little bit after I finished in there, and Lily wanted to come outside, and I looked on my patio, and I thought, okay, there's cat here. So I was out here with my little vacuum, vacuuming everything out, and Lily just sat at the door. Now she's out here. But she sat at the door, and she's like, okay, clean my house, because I can't go out there with leaves on the deck. There's cat hair and there's leaves. And I just thought, if you are having things aren't working well, if your mind is cluttered, or things aren't coming smoothly about, you've got stuff you got to clean out of your head, right? But in your environment, people that have a filthy car. My dad said this to me. He says, I can always tell somebody by their car. He says, we got these guys, these brand new trucks, and they drive up and filthy dirty. He says, it just tells you something about them. And he says, if somebody else that drives up, they want to do a bid for you, and they drive up in an old dilapidated piece of crap truck that's falling apart, you're thinking to yourself, wow, this is their business. This is how they present themselves. And I mean, we can't all afford a new car. Okay, that's not the point. Some people have older cars. I have a very old car. She's in beautiful shape. She's clean, and she's clean as a whistle. She's amazing, but she's an older car. But think about the kind of, you got to think about stuff like this when you're in relationships, or lining up with people in business. These kind of things make a difference. You may not realize that at first, but if somebody is satisfied to live in filthy conditions, what does that say about them in other areas of their life? If they're used to that, maybe they've grown up that way and they don't see anything wrong with it, but it's not going to align with someone like me. That's a fact. I don't know what I'm saying with this. It's coming across. I was just shocked. I was just literally thinking about my two cats and how they are used to me. They're used to how things have been with me, and they wouldn't do well at a house where somebody, if anything happened to me and someone else had to take care of them and their place was filthy, they'd be peeing all over the place. They'd be ruining everything. And he said to me, I'm surprised they didn't pee while you were gone and I took care of them, because he probably didn't clean out the cat box like he was supposed to. But your environment, it makes a big difference, and people that you're going to date or people that you're going to associate with or hang out with. And I don't do well around people that aren't organized and clean and neat. I just don't. I don't know if there's something else that's going to come out in this. There was a reason I was saying all of this. Maybe it'll come out when I'm looking at the video afterwards, but it just makes me realize that the things that I thought that I wanted, there were reasons that didn't happen. There's things in your life that you grew up with that you didn't want to ever have in your life again, and yet you will find yourself, being drawn to that situation with the same kind of person because that's what you've grown up with, even if there was a problem with it. You got to pay attention to that. It's the same thing in positive as it is in reverse. I grew up with a very clean, organized, neat home. I have to have that. I will have that, or I would never be happy. So I have to recognize that in a partner. And it may feel like and seem like it's a little thing, but it's not. It's huge. It's huge for me. Huge. I remember the first time I was kind of like hanging out with my twin. I was at his friend's house, and I was cleaning his friend's house, and it was pretty bad. It was bad. And I went in there, and I was in there for hours and hours and hours, and when I was done, I wanted to show somebody I was proud of my work, and I showed them. But I think about myself now at this time, and I think to myself, I could never date somebody that dirty. I could never, I now recognize what's important to me, and that's a big deal. It affects everything. I can't do like I said, I went on the lake this morning, after I uploaded the first video, because it was going to get hot, and it's not quite as hot today because there's a little bit of a breeze. Maybe that I'm soaking wet because I've been sweating so bad, which is really disgusting. I have to go have a shower. But I didn't make my bed, and it's almost torture for me to leave my room without making my bed. I've got to tell you, it's a big deal. And I didn't make it. So when I came out here to sit down, I thought, I'm just going to sit down here and do this little video. And then I thought, I can't. I got to clean this deck because there was leaves and there was dust, and I had to vacuum it. And it's funny. I talked this morning on the video about, your house doesn't have to be perfect. Isn't that funny? How the happiest house isn't necessarily the cleanest house. But there's a difference between things being disorganized and filthy. I dreamed in my dream about somebody who had this big house that he'd gone away, and I think he allowed other family members to stay there. And I remember seeing dogs, and they peed all over the place, and the house was filthy. And I thought, wow, I'm walking around the room thinking, how can you live this way? How could people live this way? And how disrespectful to somebody else's home, that you're in somebody else's home, and that's what you've done to it. It was like my home when I went to Wisconsin. I had a big home. It was a beautiful home in Red Hawk, and I left the roommate behind with my cat and my dog and his cat, and he lived in a room when I was there. He rented a room from me, and I was the one that was always cleaning. So now that I was gone, the house just went to hell. I ended up giving my golden retriever away. My cat was there for a couple months, and then I had him sent to me because that was Liger. I almost killed him, and now I understand why. My girlfriends went to the house to pack up the house when I walked away from the house, and they said there was almost no fixing your home. It was destroyed. My girlfriend said she had to keep going outside to breathe because his cat had sprayed everywhere. And Liger probably did too, because the cat boxes were never clean. She said when she looked behind the couch, there were piles of poop. And I thought, God, my beautiful home destroyed. Destroyed. I'm sure that, I don't know whatever happened to it, but it was destroyed. It would never have been that way if I had been there. And I just thought, wow, I left that person in charge of my home. And you know what was horrible was he didn't pay his rent. He left a huge, ran up all the utilities, left the jacuzzi running. I had a $500 bill with that. My house was completely destroyed beyond repair, and my cat was traumatized. And Liger is traumatized, and now I'm understanding it was then. That's what happened to him. I always was wondering what happened to Liger that's made him be so skittish and so afraid of people. And my ex-husband didn't like cats, and he was allergic to cats, but he would never be mean to him. But Liger's got a problem now. He's nervous of other people. He's this big cat, but he's scared of people. Something happened to him in that home, and now I'm understanding what it was. I left my home to my roommate. My roommate tortured my cat, destroyed my house. And why am I bringing that up? There's a reason. Your house, this is your spiritual home too. People do that to you. You allow, and it's funny how it may happen like over time, and you may not realize it's happening to you until you get to the place where you're just used to it. I could never be used to that. I could never be used to filth. But I have been in a relationship where I was abused. Emotionally, I was verbally, physically abused. And it didn't start out that way. It started a little at a time. That's where this all came from. But by the time the marriage ended, it was so bad that I was like a severely abused person, and I had no idea that it happened to me. And it had happened over time period. You don't realize that first comments and then push or whatever, and it just got to be worse and worse and worse until the point where it was just absolute full-on abuse. And you would never think that I am somebody who would have taken something like that, because I'm not. But it happened a little over time, and it broke me down. So it's kind of like those cats. I'm the cat, and those cats got used to living in circumstances that a cat would normally never live, just like I did. And then I got out of it, and I would never, ever go back to that again. And I would never be in a home when somebody was treating me that way. And I would never, and it's funny because I have allowed that to happen. I've allowed myself to be disrespected. I allowed myself to be, I thought less of myself, clearly, because I put up with that behavior. So think about yourself. Are you allowing somebody to treat you, undervaluing you? Are you undervaluing yourself? In the way that you're spoken about and the way that you're treated, and just to take the example of a home. Would you walk into a home and live in a house that reeked of cat urine and there was filth? I mean, I would, like I said, he says to me, you should hire yourself out. And I thought, no thanks. People are constantly calling me, asking me to clean for them. I'm done cleaning up other people's stuff. He paid me for doing this today. And I have to live here, so with the areas that I walk through, I was only too happy to shampoo them. But no, you would not walk into a house like that and accept that behavior for yourself or treatment for yourself. But you may slowly have this build up to the place where you don't even realize what you're living in. So when you step back and you recognize, wow, sometimes when things fall apart, there's a reason for it, and you can look back and recognize you just got the escape route out, because. And when you look back and you see, wow, this is where I've come, it's kind of like the same thing of Mercury retrograde, looking back and see where we were a year ago and the things that we've learned and the things that have changed in our lives from then until now, the growth. It's the same thing, the physical growth, the spiritual growth, everything. Where you were and where you are now. Would you ever go back? Hell no. You would never go back. Once you've learned those lessons, you're not going to go back again. That's where it all came from. So anyway, I'm just going to end this. I'm going to go have a shower, go in there and make my bed that's still not made, and get to work and make some money. So I just had to say that video just was spinning. All this stuff was kind of going around and around. I wasn't quite sure what it was. The cleanliness, and anyway, it all came together. So hope you followed that. Talk to you guys later.